My name is Jackyfish, and welcome to my first impressions on the new Total War Saga title, Thrones of Britannia. I was lucky enough to be invited to Creative Assembly and get my hands on the game for around about 2 to 3 hours. Do bear in mind that the version I got to play is not a finished game. There is still lots of work left to do on the game, and things could change in the lead up to launch. So in this video, we will take a look at the main features and changes in Thrones of Britannia, with some new gameplay footage on in the background. I think the first question most of you guys will have is it just a reskin of Attila? From my time playing it, I can say now with some confidence that no, it isn't. I feel like that if you've played Attila, you'll notice some similarities at first, however as you spend more time with the game, you'll just see how different it is. Look at Attila as the bare foundations, and Thrones as everything else. One of the first things I noticed on the campaign map was the amount of cities and villages on it. Thrones of Britannia takes a different approach to province management, creating a hybrid between the Total War Empire days, where you had one main city in the province and 3 or more smaller resource buildings, and the more modern approach of Warhammer, with one main walled city and the other smaller cities. In Thrones, you will have one main city in the province which will act as your hub. Here you'll be able to build buildings to help the province as well as the surrounding provinces. You will then have a whole range of villages spread out throughout the province, such as farms, churches, iron mines, mills, and much more. Unlike an empire, taking these away from the AI felt very impactful, as not only was I taking away food from the empire, I was also adding it to mine, which is extremely important in Thrones when trying to maintain an army. I should mention as well that all minor city battles will have their own village map, unlike Warhammer, and each of the main walled cities have their own custom map. Army recruitment is probably my favourite change in Thrones so far. Units are now recruited from a global pool across your empire, which will replenish over time. You can build buildings and research technology to improve this. This brings me back to the medieval 2 days, but on a global scale. You can also recruit some of your strongest troops at the start of the game. However, it takes an extremely long time before another one will come back around in your pool, and they will take an extremely long time to replenish on the campaign map, meaning using them as a last reserve is a sensible approach. You can recruit as many units as you have access to in your pool as long as you have enough food and money. However, they will recruit at 10% strength and slowly replenish over time to a full strength unit. This took me about 4 to 5 turns to fully muster my basic units, with my elite units taking a little bit longer. This is to simulate you calling the banners and mustering the men. This style of recruitment made each AI army I killed feel like an achievement, as I knew they couldn't just spawn 5 more. They would have to muster more men, giving me a perfect opportunity to strike deep into their homeland. Army recruitment is also heavily tied into food production, as each unit you recruit now costs a set amount of food, taking away from your overall production. I constantly found myself focusing my empire on producing more food, as well as making farms my #1 target in wars to keep my army supply high, as well as taking it away from my opponent. The way in which you level up your generals has also changed. Each time a general or governor increases in rank, you'll have the option to improve one of 8 characters in your camp. This will improve something about the army or province. For example, the quartermaster improves the campaign movement range and upkeep. The champion helps to improve your commander skill, which will then give you a bigger bodyguard. This was a really cool skill because you could end up getting your general to just an insane amount of soldiers in his bodyguard, making him actually feel like a mighty warrior cutting through hundreds of enemy soldiers. You could also get the scribe, which is ideal for governors, as it provides more management, which gives bonuses to construction cost and also reduces corruption. From my time playing, I felt like I could tailor each general to exactly what I wanted, rather than having to go down a couple paths each time like we have been doing in previous Total Wars. A lot more events will now fire in your campaign, not only telling you stuff about your own empire, but also about the going-ons around the campaign map. Some events also seem to have a lot more at stake than just a simple small buff here or there. For example, I had an event that popped up that told me that one of my neighbours was about to be attacked by a strong Viking force. I then had the option to either take them out before the Vikings arrived, taking the land for myself and declaring war, or going to war with the Vikings to protect this potential ally. You also have missions which will let you take your kingdom from Wessex to England to even Britain. I really like this empire building mechanic, and we originally saw it in Age of Charlemagne. Again, I feel like a lot of stuff has been taken from Age of Charlemagne and just improved so much more. Another feature is war weariness. This is again taken from Age of Charlemagne, but improved so much more. This is now an immediate slider, so you can go up to -3, or go down to -3 I should say, and up to +3. Each one of these little pips will give you a different buff, public order bonuses, more morale for your soldiers, so managing this and getting your people ready and mustered for war is a great way to just push your advantage over the enemy. However, if the Vikings or for example Wessex start beating you back, you're going to have to be extremely careful not to let this war weariness dwindle too low, as you're going to immediately start to receive some pretty big public order penalties. Tech trees are now very different in Thrones, as each tech takes the same amount of time to research. However, you will have to meet some pre-existing conditions to start researching them in the first place. For example, to research one of the army techs, I had to recruit 5 units of swordsmen. Then, to research one of my civil techs, I had to improve my farms or get public order to a certain level. I felt like I was constantly working towards these research goals, even when I wasn't researching anything, which makes a little bit of a change than something I just normally stick on in the background and just ignore until it does end up firing. There are also several ways to now win the campaign, which again brings me back to the older Total Wars. We used to be able to go for the economic, political victory types instead of just always going for the dominance one. However, I always found myself going for the one where I just took out everyone, as that was always just my playstyle. So hopefully the other ones are more desirable to actually go for and have a little bit more spark to them than simply just attain a certain amount of trade or obtain a certain amount of the enemies kind of to swear allegiance to you. I'd really love to see just more flavour stuck into these other victory conditions, as I feel like a lot of the Total War community just likes to go out, be that solo killer and just take over everyone. Some of the victory conditions were that you could build a great city that will stand the test of time. You could also eliminate all those that oppose you to create a mighty kingdom, and there was also a few others. The one that stood out to me though was the ultimate victory, which had you fighting much longer than the other victory conditions. However, they hinted at an endgame crisis coming at the very end. The devs didn't give up too much information about this, but I can assume it's going to be some sort of foreign invasion. Let's hope it isn't chaos. You are now automatically trading with everyone, as long as there is a trade route at the start of the game, and obviously if you're not at war. I feel like this does away with them frustrating moments with the AI diplomacy, when they just refuse to trade with you, even though they benefit greatly out of the agreement. I didn't really get to test out diplomacy too much, however I did notice that the AI was much more likely to agree to stuff if they liked me, unlike the older Total Wars where the AI just seemed to never agree to anything. I also did notice that people of my own culture, again, were much more likely to band together as we were fighting a greater threat. So I think what you're going to end up seeing a lot of the time are these big kind of confederations of different cultures really coming together to fight opposing cultures. The faction I was playing in Ireland actually had a mechanic to tie in with this. Whenever I went ahead and made agreements, alliances, or military access with people of my own culture, I would go ahead and gain additional bonuses, improving my right to be king. I really like this way because again, it really made you focus on trying to band together with everyone around you to fight away against these Viking invaders who seem to relentlessly appear. Battles seem to flow nicely, with formations playing a big role. One of my favourites was the shield wall. It looked amazing in game, and I cannot wait to see the hordes of Vikings descending upon my own in the full game. Battles also looked like they lasted a bit longer than in Attila, which is always a plus in my book. I am also really happy that minor city maps are making a comeback in Thrones. These will be on your minor villages outside of your walled city. They will not provide you with much in the way of defences, besides a few choke points. However, it was still really fun to be able to fight on them once again. They will also not provide you with a garrison, so if you want to keep your minor villages safe, you will have to deploy an army to it. Main city sieges are also back with a vengeance, allowing you to attack the whole way around the city. Each one has a unique map, making each battle feel fresh. I also noticed the siege maps I played were very large, giving a good opportunity for decent 40 vs 40 unit battles. Really, one of my only problems with the game was that I found it hard to distinguish between my main province capital and my other minor villages. However, I'm sure this is just going to take a little getting used to, as we haven't seen these minor villages in a long time. I also assume they're going to be adding more detail to the UI as the game gets closer and closer to launch. Overall, Thrones of Britannia is shaping up to be one hell of a game. I'm really excited that they are looking back on previous Total Wars and bringing them old features back into modern Total Wars and just putting an interesting spin on them, as well as taking the awesome stuff from Warhammer and bringing that back into Thrones of Britannia. I'm also really happy that they're actually trying to innovate Total War. I feel like a lot of the previous Total Wars have been very lackluster in their development of features, and you can see that in Thrones with the whole change to army recruitment. I'd much rather they try something different in Thrones of Britannia and it doesn't work out, but at least they tried something different, than for them just to do the same old bog standard stuff. So I'm really hoping that the stuff they test out in Thrones of Britannia will be taken forward to other Total Wars if they work, and obviously if they don't, then they know that they don't work because they've tested it out in this game. So I'm really excited that they are innovating and they're trying to make Total War better, and hopefully we will get a big step forward, as I feel like, you know, sometimes Total War does lack that innovation, but I feel like Thrones of Britannia is going to absolutely nail that. So let me know what you guys thought of Thrones of Britannia in the comments down below. Are you guys excited? Are you just looking forward to more fantasy stuff? Are you looking forward to more historical stuff? Obviously, we have China at the end of the year, so I can assume that Thrones of Britannia will be coming out probably in the next, 4 months maybe. So that gives a lot of time for the whole China Three Kingdoms to get ramped up with their production and stuff like that, and get ready for an end of year launch for that. That's awesome. The fact that we're getting two whole historical Total War titles is absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait for both of them. It's going to be a good year if you are a Total War fan, as I'm also sure we're going to get more Warhammer DLC this year as well, which is just, they're spoiling us at the moment. So, as I said, let me know what you guys thought of Thrones of Britannia down below in the comments. Make sure to drop a like and a comment if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time, and fish out.